Tonight, we have a college football special.
But first, we recap both basketball teams' winter breaks.
A lot to get to today, so thank you for joining us. Golden Eagles Sports Report starts right now.
Slam! Dunk! Oh, that's a poster.
Live from the Jeannie Hayes Virtual Studio at Marquette University, this is Golden Eagle Sports Report.
Marquette gets the rebound, and the champions have gone down.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ben Ward.
And I'm Dennis Rayner.
Marquette, who is coming off their first Big East win of the year, hosts Villanova on Saturday at Pfizer Forum. Villanova would start the scoring off after freshman phenom Caden Lewis passes out to Matt Hodge for a long-range three.
Lewis would continue the momentum for the Wildcats as he drives down the lane for the deuce. Marquette answers back as Caden Hamilton sees an open hole and drives down the lane to capitalize on the layup.
Nigel James Jr. with the deep three helps keep Marquette within striking distance. Chase Ross keeps Marquette in the game with a deep three from the far side wing.
Then it's Ross again, but he dishes out to Trey Norman, who delivers with a clutch fadeaway jumper. The defensive James steps up and gets a steal and finishes on the offense end with a slam.
A star is born for Marquette, though, as James finishes with 31 points, a career high. Villanova and James's cousin, though, Caden Lewis, got the last laugh as Ross misses a deep three opportunity to tie it. The Wildcats defeat Marquette 76-73.
The first thing you'll need to know.
The Red Hot women's basketball team faced off against the Creighton Blue Jays on Thursday. Marquette, who came off a win against Villanova, were looking to finish 2-0 in the homestand.
Senior guard Olivia Porter scored a season-high 23 points, which is the most in her Marquette career. Junior forward Skylar Forbes had 12 points and an impressive 10 rebounds, and senior guard Jaden Mason put up 10 points with a game-high 5 assists.
Marquette defeats Creighton 67-49 and improved to 5-3 in Big East competition. The Golden Eagles return to the Owl on Saturday, tip-off at 2 p.m. Coming up next on Golden Eagle Sports Report, we preview the national championship.
Plus, we analyze some film.
Stick around for all that and more after this quick break.
Welcome to Marquette. We're going to have first Welcome to Marquette.
When you arrive ready for something good, you'll leave connected to something greater. Marquette University.
Everyone has a ritual, that small thing that keeps us focused. A habit we never skip to clear our minds and elevate our performance.
But what do you do to keep your head in the game, to drown out the self-doubt and to support your mental health? Because being your best isn't just about taking care of your body.
It's about taking care of your mind and mental health. Discover the resources you need to keep your mind focused and your mental health a priority.
Hello and welcome back to Golden Eagle Sports Report.
Once again, I'm Dennis Rayner.
And I'm Ben Ward. This next Monday, the Natty is being played in Miami Gardens, where the Indiana Hoosiers and Miami Hurricanes will play in the championship game.
The Hoosiers have been dominant all season and entered the playoffs as the #1 seed. Indiana is also led by redshirt junior quarterback and Heisman winner Fernando Mendoza.
In the other corner, the 10th-seeded Miami Hurricanes sneak into the playoffs and prove doubters wrong. The U is headlined by that elite defense and Georgia transfer Carson Beck at quarterback. Miami has played against Texas A&M, Ohio State, and Ole Miss to advance so far.
While on the other side of the bracket, Indiana faced off versus Alabama and Oregon. That Indiana-Oregon game was the second time these teams played against each other this season. The Hoosiers won both games but dominated in the second matchup, winning 56-23. And now Mendoza is widely considered the favorite to go first overall in the upcoming NFL draft in April.
But the Canes do have a projected top 10 pick in edge rusher Ruben Bain Jr., who's a force on that defense. Ahead of Monday's national championship game, we bring you a special version of Golden Eagle Sports Report Film Room. Our very own assistant sports producer, Jake Dale, gives us an insight into Indiana's defensive scheme.
First thing you'll need to know about Indiana's daunting defense is that they love disguising coverages. Their main goal is to make the quarterback more confused. It's nothing insane and looks like a pretty simple cover 2 lineup, right? There's going to be 2 safeties that drop and 2 safeties that go into cloud covers to cover the flats. They have simple, looks like they're going to rush 4. They're going to end up dropping this linebacker and rushing another one off the edge. Indiana's main goal of this edge rusher is to get Dante off his timing. Indiana is one of the best defenses at rushing cornerbacks and quarterback pressures. They like to do something which is called a simulated pressure, which we'll get to a little later on. Dante Moore is going to be looking left the whole time, and D'Angelo Pons knows that. Watch D'Angelo Pons' eyes as he keeps on moving towards the receiver. Even after the snap, his eyes are still there. He sees through his peripheral with the receiver, but he's just looking at the quarterback's head to see where he's at. It's a simple out-breaking route for Oregon, and D'Angelo knows it. The second he sees Dante ready to fire, he fires himself.
Is the running back. The quick pass is intercepted. It's going to be run in for an Indiana touchdown. D'Angelo Pons on the first play of the game.
Indiana's bread and butter relies in the pick plays. Yes, you heard me right. A pick play just like basketball. This D lineman right here is going to set a beautiful pick where he gets both alignment to bite. Now it seems as though this edge rusher, or this D tackle, is going to come around as if he were an edge rusher, but that's not the name of the game here. This running back, who is just about to get a play action called to him, is now a blocker and is ready to chip someone to give Dante Moore that little bit of time that he needs. Yet the chip doesn't work. Because of the confusion that was caused by that pick, both Oregon Ducks, who are now available to guard, go to the outside D lineman, who was once the inside D tackle. And that outside defensive lineman is now serving as the inside tackle, where after he beats his man in one-on-one, all he has between him and Dante Moore is green grass. And that tight window, like I said before, where Dante Moore needs just a split second more time to find his receiver right over the middle, completely uncovered, is instead turned into a tip pass that turns into an interception going Indiana's way. On this play, Dante Moore's going to have plenty of time. Just as a predecessor, he's got 5 blockers to Indiana's 4 that they appear they're rushing. There will be no help in the backfield, but it doesn't really matter. They have a man up back here, and Indiana's going to drop back into what looks like a cover 3. Yet the most important part of the cover 3 is right here, where Indiana's just going to match up. Now this is a big deal because these seam routes are often susceptible to beating cover 3. With the safety and the corner dropping back, it's sort of a dead zone for them figuring out who's guarding who. In this case though, it's the pass rush that gets there. Dante Moore's main read is that seam route, which he unsuccessfully has because instead of this corner giving up that early space and dropping down into the flat, he's going to fight him the whole way. Maybe some pass interference, maybe some touching, maybe just rough football. But inside the line, this is all that matters. Mario Landino, the sophomore for Indiana, is going to set an insane pick right here for Daniel Ndukwe to come all the way around. Let's watch it in real time as this pick turns into major pressure from Ndukwe. The pick is set, around comes Ndukwe, and a big strip sack that Oregon eventually falls back on is done for Indiana. This Indiana team is also super sound tackling-wise. I'm sure it's something that Cignetti and Haynes have preached during practice, but it really comes to life against a good Alabama team. You'll see a wide screen out here for Ryan Williams. There's 3 blockers to only 2 Indiana defenders up here, with a third coming in later, but Indiana doesn't struggle at all to make a fantastic tackle in the backfield. On defense, they scheme open their pass rushers. They disguise their back ends and their safeties, so the quarterback isn't sure where and where not the safeties are going to be pre-snap. Not only do they exploit defensive leverage on the offensive side and find ways for Fernando Mendoza to get the ball down the field, but they're also full of high-quality tacklers on the defensive end. They're a well-coached football team, they can get it done when it matters most. The game that will matter most is Monday's national title game against Miami. It's Indiana's chance to crown themselves, and Curt Cignetti, therefore, as national champions. I'm Jake Dale, Marquette Wire Sports.
To help preview the big game a bit more before these teams face off, we welcome in Jake Dale to break things down.
Welcome on, Jake.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So Indiana head coach Curt Cignetti had completely revamped Indiana in his 2 years here. Is this the best franchise rebuild in college football history?
I mean, you have to think so, right? We've seen a lot of big rebuilds. Obviously, that's what college football is all about. Sometimes it's about taking over a program. We saw what Pete Carroll was able to do at USC. We saw what Nick Saban was able to do at many of his stops. But this Indiana team has never been seen before. I mean, you guys can agree with me on this. Imagine a couple years ago telling someone that Indiana would be a football powerhouse. They were in the absolute doghouse of the Big Ten. Now to be topping out the Big Ten and having a chance to play for an undefeated national championship, you can't get much better rebuild.
Now, Jake, how does this undefeated Indiana team compare to the now legendary 2019 LSU Tiger team?
Well, the LSU Tigers were amazing. You know, we talk about Joe Burrow. We talk about Indiana having Fernando Mendoza. To me, that's where the comparisons start to kind of fizzle out. I still don't think Fernando Mendoza is as an insane of a prospect as Joe Burrow was. And then you look at the NFL talent otherwise. This Indiana team doesn't quite have a Justin Jefferson and doesn't quite have the insane defensive personnel. Now, with that being said, that doesn't mean what they're doing is any less amazing. You see what Curt Cignetti has done with these 3 stars and the guys they've brought over from JMU. That's super impressive stuff on its own. So maybe they wouldn't beat him in a head-to-head matchup, but you have to give respect where respect's due.
Yeah.
What do the Hurricanes need to do in order to best contain Mendoza? I mean, you've seen him all year. Just no matter what the defense throws at him, he just finds a way to make his own plays. But like, he has more touchdown passes than he does incompletions this postseason. Like,
yeah, honestly, it's about hurrying up, right? That's what the game of football is. It's about who's going to be more comfortable. And Fernando Mendoza has looked insanely comfortable in every position he's been put in so far, especially in this playoff. We've seen him dice up super good teams like Oregon and Alabama that were once seen as super hard to beat. And after the Indiana game, they left people wondering, were they as good as they thought? Who knows? But the reality was that Indiana had their own time. They had their time to scheme their plays offensively, and they let them have their way defensively. The way they scheme their coverages, as I touched on a little bit in the film room, that's how they get there. For Miami, it'll be making them uncomfortable early with the keys.
For sure. Now, Jake, Miami's offense is all about establishing the run. So how does this battle in the trenches look like ahead of this national championship game?
Yeah, I mean, Miami loves to run the ball. They've done it a lot. They have 2 running backs that are super amazing, including Mark Flesher. Honestly, for them, it'll be about getting that run game going early. As I said, I think a lot of this game will be decided in the first little bit of that first quarter.
Yeah.
It'll be clear of what the tone is. And for Miami, that tone needs to be defensive stops, getting Ruben Bain into Fernando Mendoza's area, making Fernando Mendoza and Indiana uncomfortable. And for Miami, it's about pounding the rock, getting good, long offensive drives, and letting Carson Beck get in his flow along with that run game.
Yeah,
yeah, I agree. This game is being played inside Hard Rock Stadium, the home stadium of Miami. What kind of advantage do you think that gives the Hurricanes in this game?
Dennis, gives them nothing. I think that it's almost a non-factor at all. You don't factor in weather at all. You know, Miami, there are a ton of Indiana fans coming down. Indiana has the largest living alumni base alive right now. It's crazy. So they're going to have a ton of fans in Miami. They'll probably outnumber the number of Miami fans in their own stadium. So if you want to talk about noise, if you want to talk about atmosphere, it might play against Miami in this one. So despite the comfortability, despite thinking Miami's played here a lot, I would go against that and say Indiana almost has the home field advantage in this one.
Yeah,
awesome, Jake. I also agree with that. Well, thank you for your time, Jake. But that's all we have for you tonight. Coming up next, what is happening in Oregon?
Plus, who disappointed most in the playoffs? Stick around and find out after this quick break.
Emma, did you hear?
Todd's in the hospital.
Who's Todd? He got a collapsed lung from vaping. He thought it was cool.
Not cool.
Promise you won't vape, Emma. It can lead to a lifelong addiction, and we can't be friends if your lungs collapse.
Bogus.
Wacky sitcom teens aren't the best people to talk to your kid about vaping.
Hey, you got a minute?
You are. Start the conversation with your child about vaping today.
Love is a lesson that doesn't end. It knows no conditions, so you better buckle in. Love keeps you on your toes. It never stops, only grows. Love isn't easy, it's a commitment. especially when they're being their most resistant. Love is finding the right seat so you can take a breath. But remember, love isn't lax. It always double checks. Check that your kids are in the right seat at nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
The bravest person I know is my daughter, Cynthia.
My friend Sean, and he was in the Air Force.
One of the bravest things he ever did wasn't when he first enlisted, it was when he found his first support group.
It was when he asked to move in with me and my mom.
I felt like I was lost, and you gave me a place to stay.
She went on foreign soil. She went to war. But the bravest thing she did is when she asked for help.
People couldn't see my potential, so I had to show them.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper.
Today, I'm the CEO of my own company.
That's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
Why are we not rethinking this?
I am more,
I'm more
than who I am on paper.
Welcome everyone to C Block. The Ducks lost to the Indiana Hoosiers 56-22 in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Star quarterback Dante Moore appeared on SportsCenter and announced he would stay in Eugene for another season. Oregon added Dylan Raiola, a transfer quarterback from Nebraska, and he will sit this season behind Moore. With Moore returning, does he make Oregon a title contender in 2026? Ben, what do you think?
Listen, Matt, I'm going to go no. I don't think so. I think they can definitely get back to the playoffs where they were from this year. But I just think, first of all, you have to take into account that he's going to be in a battle with Dylan Raiola. I think Dylan Raiola is going to come into this season with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder. You know, he didn't have the season he wanted at Nebraska. He was very highly recruited coming out of high school as well. So I think he's going to have a chip on his shoulder coming into Oregon. And now knowing that he has to battle with Dante Moore in practice before the season starts, that's just another piece to the puzzle that Dante Moore has to worry about coming into this season. So he's going to be thinking about that. First, he has to get past Dylan Raiola. Secondly, I think Dan Lanning's a great coach, but I just don't think he's ready enough to win these big games, like I said, against an Indiana. Can he win against an Ohio State? Can he win against a 1 seed in the playoffs? Like I said, they will be able to make it again, I think, but winning those big games against the tougher opponents, the Big Ten is good now, guys. I mean, it's the new SEC in football, so I think it's going to be tough for Oregon to get it out and to be a national championship contender.
I like that. Lucas?
Well, Ben, I agree with you that I think they'll make the playoffs, but I feel like I don't know if he's really going to be in a competition with Dylan Raiola. I feel like while there's no guarantee who's going to get the spot come into the year, I don't think there's a way that Dan Lanning goes anywhere else other than Dante Moore. He's a guy who already knows the offense. He's been there for 2 years now. He backed up Dylan Gabriel for a year. And even when games that he's struggling, his defense picked him up this year. And so far this season, or I should say the season's over now because they lost to Indiana, 3,500 yards, 30 touchdowns, and 10 picks. I can't see him being any better than that next season. I don't think there's a way where he can will his team into a championship run. Against Indiana, he looked mediocre. Even though his numbers didn't look great or did look bad, he threw over 280 yards. First play of the game, you can't make a type of mistake where you're throwing a pick six. That ruins the entire momentum for the game, I feel personally.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like one thing people forget to see that Dante Moore, while he is a great player, in the playoffs, he looked not that impressive. He threw 6 passing touchdowns, 4 interceptions, and a fumble in 3 games. That's 6-5 turnover to touchdown to turnover ratio. That's not very good. And a guy to lead a team like that of caliber to a national championship, I don't know if he's that guy to be able to finish the job.
That's fair. I have an additional question, honestly, for you guys. Do you think, knowing Dante Moore was the projected number 2 pick, he probably knew he was going to be number 2. Do you think he stayed because the Jets? Do you think Jets played a factor into him staying because he didn't want to go to New York?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like every year the worst teams are going to be having the first
Yeah.
overall pick. So, I mean, you can say, obviously, Jets tend to be where quarterbacks go to die.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't know about that. But I feel like 8 of his 10 interceptions so far this year came against teams that were in the final 8 people. So I feel like he wants another year to learn. And also, according to other quarterbacks, he had the least experience compared to Fernando Mendoza, who'd had 3 years of starting experience. So I feel like he wanted another year to learn. And it's not like he's not making any money. He's still gotten all the NIL deals coming in. So I feel like that wasn't the complete reason.
Yeah, and next year it's going to be a tough QB class. You got Darren Mensah, you got Arch Manning, you got Lenore Sellers, a lot of other great candidates as well.
True, yeah.
But it's going to be hard to compete against those guys. I mean, he has potential to go top 5. We saw he was potentially going to go this year. Maybe he goes next year. We'll have to see. But, yeah. The second year of the 12-team college football playoff is coming to a close with the national championship this Monday. After another year of unexpected upsets and an abysmal performance from the SEC, which playoff team was the most disappointing to you? Lucas, we'll start with you.
I have to go with Texas Tech. I mean, obviously you could say, well, it was supposed to be, Oregon was supposed to be in the game. Oregon maybe even should have won that game anyway. But it's the way they lost. This team was averaging 43 points per game coming into the season, and they are coming into the playoffs, and they scored 0. They got shut out. Baron Morton had the highest completion percentage in the Big 12, and he threw 137 yards, and the Texas Tech offense had 4 turnovers. This team was nowhere near what they normally were playing, like 215 total yards, and they averaged over 460. They got outpossessed by over 16 minutes. This team got completely dominated by this Oregon team.
I mean, one could say Texas Tech was a little overrated. I mean, Big 12, not really that good of a conference. I mean, you do still have to give the respects. They had a very impressive season, beating BYU, who was a top 10 team, arguably, for most of the season.
Overrated
I mean,
too.
they beat them 29-7 twice.
Yes,
I mean, that's
exactly.
so quality wins. But were they that good? I don't know. I think Oregon still would have won that. Ben, what do you think?
Yeah, I like the Texas Tech pick. I think that, I mean, they dropped the Dunkin' Donut. It's hard to not pick them for overrated. You drop 0 points. But I'm going to go Texas A&M. I think, for me, Texas A&M was a team coming in. You have such a great season. Your only loss was to Texas, which that was a tough loss. I thought they'd win that and go undefeated. But again, you're playing and also Miami's a tough opponent. They're obviously in the national championship now, so it's a good loss, I guess you could consider it. But Texas A&M, you score only 3 points at home. You're supposed to be the 12th man at Kyle Field. That is supposed to be the toughest place to play in college football. And, of course, another factor in that game was the wind gust. I mean, I heard it was almost 40 miles per hour, which is crazy. Kicking was an issue, all that. But still, 3 points at home. You cannot do that in a playoff game, obviously. Wasn't enough to beat Miami. So, it was a disappointing performance. I obviously like to see more from them in that offense. But I think Texas A&M will be back next year. I think they're going to be a very tough out in the SEC.
And they were number 3 in the AP poll for literally most of the season.
I thought they were going to go undefeated.
It was close. I mean, that Texas game was really hurt them a lot. And maybe they lost their mojo after that. Who knows? For me personally, I'm going to go Ohio State. I mean, thought as one of the best teams, arguably this season, number 1 for majority of the season. The only other week that they weren't was week 1 after they beat Texas. But if you look at the stats, on defense, they were number 1 in points allowed, number 1 in passing yards allowed, 5th in rushing, only 9 touchdowns given up all season. One of the most impressive offense. A bunch of their team is going to the draft, and they lose in their first game.
Overrated.
I got a question for you, Ben. If Texas A&M would have played anybody else, because Miami, we've seen how dominant their defense has been, how they made Ohio State look offensively, just made everyone look uncomfortable. Do they win a playoff game? It's just because they ran into Miami was the reason they fell off.
I don't know. Like I said, it's a home playoff game at Kyle Field, 12th man. They all talk about it. Everyone says they fear to play at this field. I don't know. I think it's a great question. I think it definitely would have been maybe a better game, but I don't know. I think Miami's defense has proven obviously their worth here later in the playoffs. They're in the national championship game, but still, I think A&M. I mean, scoring 3 points. He scored 3 points. That's only 3 more than Texas A&M or Texas Tech did. So it's like, come on, guys, show up in the playoffs. This is the biggest game of all those guys' careers. You have to show up in the big games, especially at home. It's still disappointing no matter what, but that's a good question, Lucas.
Those Texas teams weren't able to finish at all this season. It was very, very, very disappointing time. Even for Texas Longhorns themselves, couldn't even make the playoffs. Yeah, it's a rough year for college in Texas. Next question. The Southeastern Conference has not had a representative in the national title game in 3 seasons. The Big Ten has won the last 2 national titles, and with the Indiana win on Monday, they would collect their 3rd in a row. Has the Big Ten officially overtaken the SEC for the best conference in college football? Ben, let's hear it.
You know what? You know what? Where's Paul Feinbaum at? Can I please get Paul Feinbaum on this show at some point? Paul Feinbaum, listen, that guy talks about the SEC. He talks up SEC all the time. The SEC is talked about all the time, everywhere. Even last year in college basketball, we thought the SEC was the greatest conference ever. I'm tired of hearing about the SEC. The Big Ten is here to stay, and it's because of one Kurt Cignetti. That dude, as long as he's at Indiana, they are going to be a powerhouse in college football for the next foreseeable future. Now, like you said, last 3 championships have not been an SEC team even in it. Michigan, Ohio State. Now Indiana has a chance to do it. Like I said, you can't win those big games as a conference. They can't be considered a powerhouse conference anymore. I don't know. And that game with Indiana and Alabama, prime example. 38-3 in the Rose Bowl. That is the most famous bowl, and Alabama didn't even show up to play. Now, of course, Indiana's a good team, but come on, Bama. They're the top. I mean, guys, they were talking about Kalen DeBoer being fired after that game.
Mm-hmm.
And he was going into that game also on the hot seat a little bit. I mean, the Oklahoma game helped them, but that was a tragic game for the SEC to get hit like that. The Big Ten's here to stay.
Bad look for Bama. Lucas?
I mean, here's the thing. You can say last 3 years, right? How about let's take it back a little bit, last 20 years. Since 2005, the SEC has won 13 national championships. Oh, well, it's just Bama. Bama won them all. 5 different teams won. Florida, Georgia, Alabama, LSU, and Auburn. It's not just a one team, just like the Big Ten has become. They got the top 3 teams in the Big Ten. You got Oregon, you got Ohio State, and you got Indiana. Then who else after that? In the SEC, you got 7 teams that finished in the CFP top 15, and 2 teams arguably that had a chance to make the CFP that missed in Texas and Vanderbilt. The SEC is just so much deeper, in my opinion, than the Big Ten. We're not talking about the top-heavy teams. We're talking about the conference as a whole. And personally, I think the SEC is just much deeper than the Big Ten overall.
Yeah, but when you're looking at who is the powerhouse, like you had to see who was winning the Natties, though. Like you had to look at the now. Not even one team has made the national championship in 3 years. I mean, when you look at Michigan's run, they beat Bama in the semifinals. When you look at Ohio State's run, they beat 2 SEC teams in the route to the thing. And now when, like Ben talked about, Indiana destroyed Bama. Like this is not a good look for SEC teams. A&M got first rounded. Ole Miss and Georgia both didn't even make the Natty. Like SEC's kind of falling off a little bit. I mean, like you said, they're more well-rounded. I will agree with you on that. But if you look at the other bowl games, in regular bowl games, Illinois is beating Tennessee, Mississippi State's losing to Wake Forest. Like, they're kind of not doing as good as you would expect from them right now.
Well, you want to talk about bowl games? Let's talk about the Cheez-It Bowl then. Texas absolutely killed Michigan. Texas killed Michigan.
Cheez-It Bowl?
Texas killed Michigan. And all the stars were playing.
Michigan
there's
didn't
some
even have
bowls,
a head coach.
There's some bowls where there's opt-outs all over the place. This game, Bryce Underwood started it, and he threw multiple interceptions. Arch Manning dominated, and it's got him. That game is part of the reason why he's top 2 in the Heisman vote Heisman vote for next year, already coming in.
They didn't have a head coach. Michigan didn't even have a head coach.
And
they were going through some turmoil.
Ole Miss didn't have a head coach.
Michigan was going through some turmoil.
Ole Miss didn't have a head coach, and they were one pass interference call away from being a national championship.
What about Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt losing to Iowa? What about that?
That's a good point. I'm just saying, you can't just look at bowl season overall. There's multiple times where you could see an SEC team beat a Big Ten team. You can see Big Ten teams beat an SEC.
But I think even Matt said they're beating the head-to-head games in the biggest games. Those are the biggest games on that stage at that level, and the Big Ten are winning them.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys. That's all the time we have to. Thanks for the great discussions. We're out of time. Tune in next week for all of our coverage of Marquette sports and more. I'm Matt Perez, Lucas Scholz, and Ben Ward. Good night, Marquette.